Dear students, good evening. Today we will discuss about the variation method. In the previous class, we learned about the perturbation method. Perturbation method is a little bit laborious in the sense that we have to carry out a lot of calculations and we have to deal with several integrations, etc. Moreover, the perturbation method is having its own difficulty in the sense that unless you have a similar system, you cannot actually carry out the successive correction to the either eigenvalue or the eigenfunction. That is the most crucial problem. And well, again, there is another drawback with the perturbation theory that it cannot be applied as such. What we have discussed is the non-degenerate perturbation theory. Of course, there are other perturbation theories are there. So, depending upon your type of calculation, we have to have different theories within the perturbation theory. One is the degenerate system. The theory which I have discussed in the previous class, it cannot be applied. So we have to use a different theory. And apart from that, it cannot be applied to the excited states. Okay, and irrespective of the eigenstate which you are dealing, it cannot be applied. Why? Because unless you have primarily because of the condition that unless you have the similar system which is known, you cannot use that, you cannot carry out the process of perturbation method to know the solutions of the perturbed system wave functions and then eigenvalue. Okay, so based on this background, the variation method was developed, and the variation method is the primary method used in majority of the calculation what is done today by so-called computational chemists. And nowadays, the silico-chemistry is something that is carried out by majority of the experimental chemists as well. Silico-chemistry. Silicon means, I hope that everybody knows that silicon is the primary element. It is present in the semiconductors, right? Semiconductor is the device which is actually origin for development of the electronics. So that means indirectly we are talking about computers. So the chemists are also involved in a lot of calculating lot of calculations. Well, the reason why we go for the calculation is very simple. In a traditional chemistry, that we do the experiment first, and then later we study the materials, and we study the properties, and we do everything. But then that unless you synthesize, unless you study them in the laboratory, you will not know what is the property of it. Therefore, the computational chemistry methods have come into the picture. So this method offers the calculation of certain properties. So you need not to actually prepare them in the laboratory. Okay, just you give the input file. I mean, you give the molecular structure to the software, which is developed primarily based on the variation theory method and some type of other methods also. So you have to give the input structure to the software, and then software calculates certain properties. What are those properties? Well, many properties it calculates. It calculates energy. It calculates some of the thermodynamical parameters. It calculates polarizabilities. It calculates the dipole moments. It calculates the electronic spectrum. It calculates the NMR spectrum. It calculates the transition states. So there are different parameters can be calculated and computed in the computer itself. Okay, so that is really useful, right? So without wasting chemicals, you can actually predict certain important parameters. Based on that, you can decide upon whether this material is worth synthesizing in the laboratory or not. In fact, just imagine majority of the drug designing is another important area where you have to have a lot of molecule in hand, and then you have to synthesize them, and then you have to submit it for the validation, for which actually they have prepared, be it a drug for the cancer treatment, be it a drug for the some malaria or any diseases. So you have to first synthesize them in the laboratory and characterize them, and then finally you have to study their interaction with the molecule. It takes a lot of time, right? So therefore, if you have some other method which actually reduce this time, really helpful. So the chemist, some of the chemists, what we call it as a computational chemist, and along with the biologist, they are actually, of course, the computers are involved in biology, and in fact, all domains of science it is evolved in recent days. You can, all these people actually essentially what they does is they basically calculate the properties without synthesizing the materials or the molecules in the laboratory. The calculations are being calculated, and then if those properties are really interesting, then such molecules will be selectively basically prepared in the laboratory, and then further they will be taken up to the further studies, right? So it is basically the computational chemistry has a lot of significance in the modern science. In all domains, it is having large importance. So all these computational chemistry software actually one way or the other way, they are actually depend upon this variation method. What is variation method? Well, in this method, as I already pointed out the last class, majority of the time we may not be interested in the exact solutions of the molecule or the atom which we are dealing with. It is enough that if we are able to calculate or compute the energy of the ground state energy of the system, and also the it's a corresponding wave function, right? That is really useful. This particular method you can actually apply to any other state. It is not actually confined, unlike the perturbation theory method. It is not confined to a particular state, but then usually it is started, actually conventionally it is started with the ground state, but then you can apply to any other system. One problem which I have highlighted in the perturbation theory, that you need not to know any similar system of the molecule which you are interested to find out its eigenfunctions. Suppose you are interested to find out the functions of helium atom. Okay, so according to the perturbation theory, it is suggested that you need to have the exact solutions of the similar system. That is the requirement to carry out the perturbation theory. Whereas the variation method, it doesn't require that particular thing. Okay, it doesn't depend upon that particular aspect. That is the beauty of this method. That's how it is so different from the other methods. Now, most of the things that we wanted to actually solve the Schrodinger wave equation, right? Like the ground state, let us say that let us consider the psi 0 is the ground state energy of the system. Okay, this is ideally we are supposed to have solve the Schrodinger wave equation. Well, if that is not possible, that at least we wanted to calculate at least the energy. At least it's a ground state energy we wanted to calculate. How do we calculate the ground state energy? Well, this is a simple method that you can do. Well, we have the Schrodinger wave equation of a system, which actually is primarily we are concerned the ground state. And what we wanted to do is that, okay, we wanted to calculate the energy, okay, the energy of the system. Similarly, what is this we wanted to know. Okay, if these two things are known, that is fine for us. Of course, that was the purpose of even the perturbation method also. We are actually primarily interested in the eigenfunctions and eigenvalues. Now, how do you do that actually? Well, the Schrodinger wave equation, you can actually integrate it, multiply the entire expression with psi 0 star, and then integrate it over the entire space. Okay, so this expression on left hand side and right hand side, you have to multiply with the psi 0 star and then integrate it over the entire space. So you get this. Essentially, you are going to get this. Now, what you can do, here there is the E0. This E0, you can keep one side, the other thing you can move it here. So the E0 is the ground state energy of the system, which you can actually evaluate by following this expression. What is this? Integral psi 0 star h psi 0 d tau divided by integral psi 0 star psi 0 d tau. Okay, so this is the expression that helpful for us to calculate the ground state energy of the system, provided we should know what is psi 0. Provided we should know what is psi 0, but psi 0 is not known to us, right? Psi 0 is not known to us. So therefore, this equation is not at all useful in this form as such, right? If you know this I0, then energy can be computed. But if you don't know the energy, it doesn't make any sense, right? Well, most of the cases, as I told you, that by using our physical intuition and understanding of the system, it is possible that we can actually guess the you can guess the wave function. Okay, you can guess the wave function. Well, you don't know the exact wave function of the system which you are dealing with. Let's say, for example, helium atom. This is something that we will discuss very elaborately later on after the variation method in the next class. But then let me tell you, but the helium atom wave function, we don't know. Well, helium atom, we don't know, but then we can guess it based on its number of particles and number of electrons and how they are arranged. So these are some of the points based on which we can actually guess guess a wave function for that describe the behavior of the helium. How it is possible? Well, I told you that first of all we have to look at the material, look at the system, and similarly at the same time you need to have some knowledge in mathematics. Why? Because the wave functions are, after all, the mathematical functions. Okay, wave functions are, after all, mathematical functions. Therefore, if you have the knowledge of these two, guessing is not a problem. Guessing a wave function, not at all a problem. Let us consider that the phi is a trial function that we have guessed it. Okay, this guessed wave function, what we called as a trial function, it is somewhat similar to the actual wave function of the system that describe the behavior of the ground state of the system. Okay, so it is a kind of approximate wave function that we have guessed it, and this wave function, what we call it as a trial function. Why we are saying it is a trial function? Well, this function is something that instead of psi 0, we have now a guessed wave function. This guessed wave function you can actually plug in, and then you can evaluate the energy. Now you can evaluate the energy, and this energy, certainly it will not be exact energy of the system, of the ground state system, right? Definitely it will not be exactly same as that one, but it will be something else. So therefore, I call that particular energy is a script E. Script E. What is script E? Script E is the approximated wave function, approximated energy of the system, which is computed based on the guessed wave function or the trial function. Are you following? Okay, in this method, what we do, well, ideally, we have to know what is the ground state wave function and also ground state energy. Ground state energy is something that we can actually calculate by using this expectation value relation. This energy can be computed only when we know the ground state, when we precisely know the wave function. Unfortunately, we don't know because it is very complex. Now, what is it is done in this method? Instead of having the exact wave function, we will guess a wave function. We will guess a wave function, and this wave function, by employing this wave function in the expectation energy relation, we will try to compute the energy. We will try to compute the energy, and that energy will be somewhat similar to the energy of the actual system. Okay, definitely it will not be same as that one, because you may get, if your guessing is correct, I mean, if the phi is exactly equal to psi 0, then you will get the correct energy. In that situation, the energy, the script E, is the energy of the system, which is computed by employing the trial wave function of the system. Okay, this script E will not be same as the, in most of the cases, I mean 99%, the script E will not be same as the actual energy of the system. Okay, there is a theorem that we will discuss later. I will prove that theorem later. But for the time being, you accept this statement that the script E, which is the energy calculated by computing a trial wave function, will not be same as the ground state energy of the system. Okay, so this method, as you can see here, that here we don't have to do anything, just we have to compute. You have to know the Hamiltonian of your system. Of course, different uh, systems will have different Hamiltonians, and having known the Hamiltonian, you have to plug in there and operate it upon the trial wave function and compute the numerator, compute the denominator, and finally you get the energy. Now, what is done is that, well, as I told you, that our guessing will not be correct. Now, suppose if we wanted to revise it or refine your guessing wave function, what we do? Well, you have to guess a trial wave function which is somewhat close to the actual ground state wave function, right? So in this method, it is not that one time we compute energy and then keep quiet. No. So what is done in this method, that we do this process in a iterative manner, iterative method. I hope that iteration is a process. Okay, basically you start with a point and then you carry out a process of calculation, and then you get something, then take that output and again put use this output as the input and again do the calculation, right? So this is a kind of cyclic manner we do this. So that is called iteration method. So in the variation method, we use actually iteration process. Okay, so we will start with a trial wave function. We compute the energy of the system, and then we try to compare its energy with the ground state energy, and if it is matching well and good, then otherwise what we do, that input output energy what we have obtained will be again reloaded to the system. Again we calculate, and then so we try to basically what we do to improve the guessing energy, okay, of the system. Then we try to repeat the process in several times. Okay, so in an iterative manner. Okay, so this is the overall idea about the variation method. And then now the question, let's say that I have a question, I have guessed one wave function, and then one of you, well, you have 37 people in your class, you can guess different 37 wave functions. That is possible, right? In mathematics, to describe a particular situation or the system, we can have a different wave function with a slight variation, or the entirely different variation. We can have different wave function. That is possible, right? Now, in that case, the question arises that which wave function I should be considered. Okay, which wave function we should be used as a trial function. That is something that it is always a puzzle, right? Since we are guessing, you can guess, I can guess, everybody can guess. What are the parameters to guess it? Well, I told you that you have to understand the system. That is one thing, and you should have a little bit knowledge about the mathematics. If you have these two qualities, then you are able to do it, I am able to do, everybody able to do it. Then we have so many trial wave function. Now, out of the several trial wave function, which is the trial function that I should consider? Well, I can't say before doing the calculation. We have to calculate the script E. What is script E? Script E, for each case you have to calculate. Script E is the energy of the trial approximate energy that we have obtained by employing the trial wave function in the expectation energy calculation. So each time we have to calculate it. For example, if I have two trial wave function, in one case I get script E1, okay, in the other case I get script E2. Now look at E1 and E2 and then compare to the original system. I have only one system. For one system only we have so many trial functions. Now among this phi1 and phi2, if phi1 is giving a script E which is somewhat close to the energy of the system, then you can consider that phi1 as your trial function, and then further iteration method you can do it. Okay, on the other hand, if phi2 is giving a somewhat reliable answer, which is close to the, energy which is calculated, which is close to the actual ground state energy of the system, then you can take up that other one. If some other function is there entirely different than these phi1 and phi2, that you consider. Okay, so the basis to decide upon a particular trial function is the script E. The script E is closely matching with your actual energy of the state, okay, then that particular thing you should consider. Otherwise, not. That is the thing. Well, the point there are 2 points that one should remember here. One is the script A, the approximate energy which we have calculated by employing the trial wave function. Its energy will be always greater than the ground state energy of the system. Ground state energy of the system. This is actually a variation principle, and then very rarely it will be equal to 0 also. Very rarely your approximated energy will be matching with the actual energy of the system. Very rarely. Therefore, script T is greater than or equal to E0. What is E0? E0 is the exact energy of the ground state. Exact energy of the ground state. Okay, this is called variation principle. We will come to this principle. We will try to derive this maybe after that. And later, another important thing I already mentioned, please remember that this particular method is not restricted to a particular ground state. It can be applied to any other state. Okay, you need not to know anything about that. You need not to know any similar system, unlike the perturbation theory method. Okay, these are important aspects. Now, we will try to apply the variation method to a particle confined to 1D box, so that you will understand this method, and this knowledge will be useful when we are actually dealing when we are going to study the helium atom problem. Okay, now the question is, we have particle confined to one-dimensional box. So the first step in this method is that we have to guess a trial wave function. How do we guess the trial wave function? How do we guess it? Well, I told you that 2 points. One is, you look at, if you want to guess a trial wave function to the ground state, then you look at the wave function. Okay, you look at the wave function of the particle confined to one-dimensional box when it is present in the ground state. When it is present in the ground state, then it will have that type of appearance. Okay, so there is a nice curve, and then which is having a maximum at the center at the L/2, and then at the extreme ends, that means at the boundaries, the wave function is 0. At the boundaries, the wave function is 0. That is the nature of the function. Can't we actually guess a mathematical function which describes this behavior? We know the exact wave function. What is the exact wave function of the particle confined to one-dimensional box? Well, that has a general formula, that is square root of 2 by L sine n pi x. For ground state, n is equal to 1. Therefore, sine pi x by L. That is the wave function, exact wave function of the particle confined to one-dimensional box. Now, what I am saying that we will not take that solution. We will take some other solution, but that solution will satisfy some of the feature at least of your wave function. Now, I can see this here, that at x is equal to 0, the wave function is 0. At x is equal to L, the wave function is 0. At the boundary, the wave function is becoming 0. Well, that is how we have solved the equation, because in order to satisfy the continuous behavior, then we have to solve based on the boundary condition. That is why it is happened. So that is something that I can actually make use of it, and then I can guess the trial wave function. Let us consider that this is x multiplied by L minus x. This is one mathematical function. You see, such a simpler function it is. Such a simpler function, x times L minus x. Now, if x is equal to 0, what is the answer? The function phi is 0. Okay? If x is equal to L, again the answer is 0. Right? So, at the boundary, the function is becoming 0. What will happen to at L/2? All those things are actually immaterial at this point, but you can actually, obviously, if you want to improve it, you can take it up. So we are not going to that part right now. But this is a good wave function. Why? Because that, this is, if you increase x value, it will increase. Right? If you increase x value, it will increase, but then it cannot increase it cannot increase further and further, but it has to come down. It will come down. That is one point. Second point is that at the boundaries, if I substitute x is equal to 0, then wave function becoming 0. Similarly, if I substitute x is equal to L, and then again the wave function is becoming 0. Therefore, I consider myself that I have guessed a really fair wave function, which I wanted to try upon. You just carry out now this. You can, if you like it, you can take this as a trial wave function, and then you can evaluate the script E. Script E you can evaluate by employing this wave function. Okay, now let us evaluate script E. What is script E? Script E is this integral. Okay, there is a numerator and there is a denominator. So numerator is having a Hamiltonian integral phi star h phi d tau divided by integral phi star phi d tau. What is h here? Well, you know that it is a particle confined to one-dimensional box, and potential energy is 0. Therefore, it has got only the kinetic energy term, that is minus h cross square upon 2 times the mass of the particle multiplied by d square upon dx square. That is the Hamiltonian, right? Now, what we do, we try to evaluate first of all the either numerator or denominator. Okay, maybe we can start with the denominator. Okay, denominator. So the integral, this object we will try to evaluate. Okay, here there is no Hamiltonian, therefore it is quickly we can do this job. Now, what is this integral? Phi star phi d tau, that is the integral. But what is phi? We guessed already phi is nothing but this object, x into L minus x. Okay, just take the square of it, because it doesn't contain any imaginary part. Therefore, you forget about the complex conjugate notation, and then you take the square of it. That is what it is done here. You can see integral 0 to L. These are the limit in which the particle is allowed to move in. Therefore, the limits are 0 to L, and then x square, and then L minus x square whole square. Then you expand it, and this is what you get it. So this is fairly straightforward answer. Okay, you can multiply now. First of all, you expand the L minus x whole square. Okay, a minus b whole square is a square, that is L square, x square minus 2lx. And then later on, what you do, you have x square. So you can take x square inside, and then L square x square minus 2lx cube plus x to the power 4. Okay, this is what it is. Now what you can do, simply you can do the integration. Well, you can do the integration for x square. Of course, L is the length of the box, so it doesn't affect only the x square. X square means the integration is basically x cube by 3. Then you apply the limits. So this is the first term. Second term, you have the 2lx cube. That means 2l is a constant. So for x cube, integral x cube is nothing but x to the power 4 by 4, and then x to the power 5 by 5 for this term, right? Now you apply the limits, and then what you get is this answer. Finally, what you get is this answer. We are not completed because this is only the denominator part. What is denominator? Denominator is this object. We have to evaluate even this also, right? Let us evaluate the numerator as well. Numerator contains the Hamiltonian. So, well, the Hamiltonian is having a constant, that is minus h cross square upon 2 times the mass. This you can take out outside the integral, and then inside you have x into this phi star. Phi star is nothing but the x into L minus x. Okay, and d square upon dx square multiplied by this object. Now the derivative, second derivative of this object. Well, it is very straightforward. We need not to really do this multiplication and then do all those things. You can see here it is a derivative, second derivative. So effectively, this is going to be minus 2. Why? Because you have Lx minus x square, right? X square. For x square only, you will have minus 2. And that's all. So that minus 2 will come from this second derivative of this function, and this remain the same, right? Now this minus 2 you can take outside, and this minus and then minus both cancel out. So effectively what you have is h cross square upon m multiplied by integral 0 to L multiplied by integral basically integral 0 to L x into L minus x dx. Okay, of course, very straightforward. You can do this integration, and what you get is this answer. Having calculated the numerator and denominator, let us evaluate script e, and script e is nothing but this object, and you substitute what we have obtained previously, and if you simplify, we get it actually 10 multiplied by h cross square upon 2 times the mass of the particle and also the L square, that is the length of the box. That is the script E. Now let me recall what is the ground state energy of the particle confined to 1 dB box. Well, you recall the general expression. The general expression is nothing but n square h cross square pi square upon 2 ml square, right? This is the general expression. So n square h cross square pi square by 2 ml square. So that is the answer, right? The general expression. But n is 1 for ground state. So you can just substitute that value, n is equal to 1, and then we can get the answer. Well, from the ground state, that is pi square h cross square upon this, right? Pi square h cross square upon 2 ml square, which is nothing but 9.84 multiplied by h cross square upon 2 ml square. Okay, now you can just calculate what is the difference, which is having more energy. Well, you can see that the energy which we have computed using the trial wave function is having more energy than the actual energy of the system. This is only 9.84 multiplied by h cross square upon 2 ml square, right? But whereas this one 10 multiplied by h cross square upon 2 ml square, it is basically 10 minus 9.84 multiplied by that object, that is h cross square upon 2 ml square. Okay, so what is the difference? It is 0.16 h cross square upon 2 ml square times the h cross square upon 2 ml square is the difference. And if you try to evaluate, what is the error, well, the error is less than 2%. That is precisely, it is 1.5%. The percentage of the error you can calculate, then that is very, very negligible. But you can see that how simple it is, this particular process, how simple it is. So this is a trial wave function, that very crude guessing. We didn't think much, just simply based on two aspects. That is, one is that at the boundaries, okay, at this boundary and that boundary, both boundaries, the wave function should be 0. That is the only criteria we have used it. That is our physical knowledge and understanding of the particle confined to one-dimensional box. That based on that we guessed a trial function, and then that if you try to employ that in the expectation energy value, then we got this script E, which is very good in terms of the numbers. So with an error of 1.5%, we got the answer, script E. Okay, so this is really nice, that this particular method, if you want to improve, what you can do, you can get basically some other wave function. Okay, if you want to improve this and to get the actual energy of the system, what is the actual energy? That is 9.84. Okay, so if you want to get exactly that number, what you do, again, you have to start from the wave function, which is somewhat similar. Then again you calculate and make, basically it's a kind of trial and error method initially, but later on by improving, instead of each time guessing a newer function, you can start with some already known function, try to basically modify it such that we get the actual answer. That is the process that we follow. Now with this background, let us go on and then try to prove the variation principle. The variation principle is nothing but the variation method provides an upper bound to the ground state energy of the system. Okay, it is an upper bound. So what is the script A? What we are going to evaluate by employing this relation, that is integrals phi star h phi d tau upon integral phi star phi d tau. Okay, that value will be always greater than or equal to ground state energy of the system. Okay. Uh, Therefore, it is an upper bound. We will say it is a, in terms of mathematical terminology, we say it is an upper bound to the ground state energy of the system. So how do we prove this? Well, we can prove this. So let us take orthonormal wave functions. Psi1, Psi2, Psi3, and so on are the orthogonal wave function. Corresponding to wave function, we will have eigenvalues, and the eigenvalues are given by E1, E2, E3, and so on. Okay, so these are the orthonormal eigenfunctions of the ground state. Okay, similarly, corresponding to eigenfunctions, we can have the eigenvalues E1, E2, E3, and E4, and so on. Now, we know the property of completeness set. We know the property of completeness set. So what we do, we imagine phi as an arbitrary wave function, and this phi arbitrary wave function can be expressed in terms of the orthonormal wave functions of the actual system, right? So the phi, let the phi is equal to C0 psi 0 plus C1 psi 1 plus C2 psi 2 and so on, is a trial wave function of the system. Now what we have to prove? Well, we have to prove this ratio is greater than or equal to 0. This ratio, and this ratio contains numerator and denominator. Let us calculate the numerator part first, and later on the denominator. So the numerator, that is this object, integral phi star h phi d tau is equal to, what is phi star? Well, phi star is the complex conjugate of the trial wave function. What is the trial function? Trial wave function, we have taken the linear combination of the orthonormal wave function which are known to us. Okay, therefore this trial function you can substitute here. Okay, and there is a Hamiltonian. Okay, this is phi, and this is also phi, and then you have a Hamiltonian. So after substituting this, you can just multiply it. And after multiplying, you can basically separate. You can separate the integrals and write down different integrals, and then you try to simplify further and further. But what I'm not going to do that thing, but then I will explain very briefly here. Okay, here what we have is that C0. The first term, let us look at C0 psi 0, and there is a Hamiltonian, right? And here also there is a C0 psi 0. When H operates upon C0, C0 is some constant, so therefore it doesn't affect. But when H operates upon psi 0, you get actually E0. What is E0? E0 is the eigenvalue, right? E0 is the eigenvalue of the system. This operate upon C1, when C1 psi 1 multiplied by this one. I think what we can do, I think first let the H operate upon this, and then later we will multiply. So when H operate upon C0 psi 0, then we get C0 E0 psi 0. Similarly, when H operate upon C1 psi 1, we get C1 E1 psi 1 plus. You can evaluate all the terms in the series, no issue. And then later on, what you can do, this is straightforward. As you know that this is having a complex conjugate notation. This complex conjugate you can take inside, and then you apply to everything. Then later on you just multiply it. Well, when you multiply this, you will have a cross terms. You will have cross terms, and you will have the same terms. What are the cross terms? When C0 psi 0 multiply with the C0 psi 0, that is actually same terms, right? C0 psi 0, psi 0, C0. Same terms. But then when C0 psi 0 is multiplying with the C1 psi 1, that is the cross term. Okay, so all the cross terms actually will vanish. Okay, all the things will vanish. Why? Because the wave functions are orthonormal, right? Because the wave functions are orthonormal. Only functions which are actually having psi 0 integral psi 0 star psi d tau, and then its a corresponding coefficient will survive, and rest of other things will actually vanish it, right? Similarly, integral psi 1 star psi 1 d tau, right? That particular term and its coefficient will survive, and the remaining thing will vanish. So essentially what we get is actually C1, C0 psi 0 multiplied by this type of integral, and all the cross terms actually will vanish. All the cross terms will actually vanish it. Now this is the object that we have right now, that is the numerator. Okay, please correct it. There should be one complex conjugate notation here. So that is the numerator part. Let it be like this. Okay, and the denominator we can evaluate. The denominator is this object. So this object, there is no operator in between these wave functions, trial wave function. This is one trial wave function. This is trial wave function, and here there is no complex conjugate. So straight away you can just apply it. So this is C0. Okay, C0, C0. That's psi 0. Okay, actually there will be integral psi 0 psi 0 psi 0 star psi 0 d tau, it will be there, but that term will survive, no problem. But then when psi 0 c0 c1 integral psi 0 psi 1 d tau, that integral will actually vanish. Okay, so what we have in the denominator is that this object. Okay, what is this object? This object is c0 star C0 plus C1 star, okay, multiplied by C1 plus C2 star C2, and so on. What about numerator? Numerator is also, again, I think there should be a complex conjugate. Somehow my notation did not kept it here, but then there should be a complex conjugate notation here. There. Okay, please add that complex conjugate. Okay, so numerator. Yeah, I think here I kept it. You can see here. So here I kept it, but then somehow I missed out. Please correct it. Now, this is the object of the script E, and then numerator is this, and then denominator is this. Now, what we can do, we have script E is equal to this ratio. So from both sides, I will actually subtract this object, that is the E0. E0 is the exact energy of the ground state. Okay, exact energy of the system when it is in the ground state. So you can actually subtract it. Okay, you can see here I'm subtracting from the left hand side, and then I'm also subtracting from the right hand side. The net effect is 0, so nothing happens. So when you subtract it, and then you can simplify further. How you can simplify it? Well, this is the denominator, so this goes there, right? E0 multiplied by that, E0 multiplied by this. So you can see here this object is remain the same. Okay, this is that object, and E0 multiplied by C0 star C0 plus C1 star C1 plus C2 star C2 plus and so on. Okay, and divided by, you have the denominator, this object. What is C0 star C0? This is basically modulus of C0 whole square, right? Similarly, what is C1 star C1? That is modulus of C1 whole square, right? So the denominator we can simplify in this fashion. What about here? Well, again here also C0 whole square. Similarly here also C1 whole square modulus of, and then modulus of C2 whole square, and so on. Okay, and so on. But here you can realize that there is a E0 is multiplying this object, and then from here E0 modulus of C0 whole square. From here you will get actually C0 whole square, right? And outside you have E0. Okay, this object exactly same as the first object. Okay, therefore these two things get cancelled each other, and remaining thing will be there. So these are the things. Now what you can do, you can actually simplify it. You can actually simplify it further, in the sense that we have, okay, this is E1, okay, C1 modulus of C1 whole square, and here also you get modulus of C1 whole square minus E0, isn't it? And then from this term, okay, you can actually get C2 star modulus of C2 star whole square multiplied by E0 minus multiplied by E2 minus E0, right? So the simplification is written here. You can see here. Of course, you can follow. This is very straightforward. From the first C0, E0, that particular first term actually vanish it, but remaining all terms can be simplified in this method. Modulus of C1 whole square multiplied by E1 minus E0 plus modulus of C2 whole square multiplied by E2 minus E0 plus and so on. You can write the remaining thing, but that is not necessary for our discussion. Well, in the denominator that we have this object, okay, so this is infinite series that will run. Now you can look at this expression. This expression, well, this is a modulus of C1 whole square means that is anyway square of anything, even if it is a negative one. When you square it, it becomes positive, and then E1 minus E0. What is E1? E1 is the excited state energy of the system. E0 is the ground state energy of the system. Therefore, if you take this, the difference will be a positive quantity, right? So you are subtracting, the excited state will have a higher energy than the ground state. Therefore, when you subtract it, definitely you will get a positive quantity, right? Similarly, what about the denominator? Denominator is also having modulus of C1 square plus modulus of C2 square plus and so on. That means those are also positive quantities. Therefore, I can happily write down this relation. Okay, since this is a positive quantity, this is a positive quantity, and then becomes it will be definitely greater than 0. When you take the ratio of a two positive quantities, will be positive. Definitely it's a positive. Now, very rarely it so happens that when the wave function is matching well with your guessing, if your guessing is correctly matching with the exact wave function of the ground state system, then it is possible that you will get script E is same as the E0. Therefore, in order to account that also and to have a generalized principle, then very rarely even this relation also will take place. When script E minus E0 is equal to 0, that relation also possible. Therefore, script E minus E0 greater than or equal to 0, that means script E greater than or equal to E0, that is the energy of the ground state energy of the system. So that proves the theorem. That proves the theorem. What is script E? Script E is nothing but that object, that is the expectation value of the object, that is greater than or equal to 0. So this is true that for any system that you think of and any state that you can that you are interested to evaluate, this particular theorem will be valid. Okay, this particular theorem will be valid, and you can apply this particular thing to any other state of any given system. Okay, and only when very rarely that happens, if your guessing is exactly matching, then the script E energy becomes the E0, that is the actual energy of the system in the ground state. Now, in the actual computational calculation, what is done is, very briefly I just want to narrate. We will have a trial wave function, and this trial wave function is chosen such that it depends upon several parameters, several arbitrary parameters. Okay, so we can define different arbitrary parameters. Okay, by changing the arbitrary parameters from starting from one point to the other point, each time one can evaluate the energy of the system. Each time we can evaluate the energy of the system. And this process you can repeat it for all the arbitrary parameters which are defined based on some criteria. Arbitrary means it's arbitrary, definitely true, but then they have to be defined based on certain criteria. Then with regard to all the arbitrary parameters, we can evaluate the energy of the system. Okay, and now you can actually look at the scripts which are collected, and then based on the script energy values and their comparison with the exact ground state energy of the system, then we can talk about this is the trial wave function which is giving somewhat closure energy which is comparable, which is close to the exact system. Then that particular wave function you can consider, and then you can actually look at its wave function and try to understand the wave function to understand the behavior of the system. So that is the process it is done. There is a process called energy minimization. There is a process called energy minimization, which is a routine process which is done. In fact, you guys are going to do the experiment as a part of the physical chemistry semester number 1, the second semester as well as the third semester. I will be offering that 2 experiments. So energy minimization is a concept that it is routinely carried out to see that the what we have drawn the structure in the software, it is the actual energy, and then we have to ensure the structure of the molecule is correct, and then once it is correct, then corresponding energies and then corresponding some of the properties, I mean dipole moment and some of the other aspect, we will try to look at it. Okay, so with this, I have concluded the concept of the variation method very briefly.